Hello everyone, I am Grand Cat and it's only 2 days until Christmas. Only 2 days until Christmas, oh my goodness. And it's time for the Christmas countdown of December 2022. It's time for number 3 on my top 25 list. Then like I said in yesterday's video, these top 4 could all have been interchangeable with each other. All of them could have been number 1, and it is time for us to look at number 3. And number 3, after a great argument with myself, great deliberation, it begins with an S. And this is your chance to guess as to who it is. Look at me scrolling through as I am looking for the one, the only. Oh, hell yeah, son. That's Stone Cold Steve Austin. What? I'll tell you what. You put Stone Cold Steve Austin at number 3? There ain't two badasses that are better than the big Stone Cold. I'll tell you what, son. So, big old Stone Cold Steve Austin is number 3 on my list, which means that there's 2 people that are higher than Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Stone Cold Steve Austin is one of my favourite wrestlers of all time, unquestionably. One of the best promos, one of the most thrilling guys, like the guy who owned the entire Attitude Era. I mean, if there was a main character in wrestling, Stone Cold would have been him. In the entire Attitude Era. The entire thing was all based around Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, just, like, look at the 1999 Royal Rumble. The entire match was about Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, bar none, unquestionably, the entire thing was Stone Cold Steve Austin. WrestleMania 14 was all about Stone Cold Steve Austin rising to take on the WWF champion Shawn Michaels and to win the title for the first time. WrestleMania 13 was the blood from a stone match, Stone Cold versus Bret Hart, where Stone Cold refused to tap out. He passed out from the blood loss and the sharpshooter, and he never tapped. And that's when you got the double turn, where Bret Hart went from being a face to being a heel, and Stone Cold went from being a heel to being a face. WrestleMania 15 was the end of, from WrestleMania 14 to WrestleMania 15, it was all about Vince McMahon wanted Stone Cold to fall in line, and he wanted him to be a corporate champion, and Stone Cold gave him the double middle finger, son, and said, I don't think so. I don't give a crap about your corporation, son. And then the entire year was the fight between Vince McMahon and his hatred towards Stone Cold, which ended up accumulating with the 99 Royal Rumble. So Stone Cold won the 98 Royal Rumble, 99 Royal Rumble. Vince McMahon entered himself into it, and he ended up being number 2, and Stone Cold was number 1. And those 2 were the final people in the event. And then Vince McMahon ends up winning the Royal Rumble, once again screwing over Stone Cold Steve Austin with the help of the corporate champion, The Rock, which then led to, I think it was Valentine's Day Massacre, which was, Vince McMahon tried to cheat once again by having Paul White, the Giant, interfere in the match, hiding him under the ring and having him explode out of the ring, and then throwing Stone Cold so hard through the steel cage that the steel cage broke, and Stone Cold ended up landing on the outside, winning the match, which meant that he was now the number 1 contender to take on The Rock, the corporate champion, at WrestleMania 15. And oh my goodness. And unfortunately, it was at that point Stone Cold had the neck problems, and he had to go for the neck surgery and everything. Then they had to write him off by having Stone Cold ran over by a car, and then they made The Rock the new, their new main guy. But even at that, when Stone Cold came back, even during the invasion angle, when Stone Cold was the number 1 heel in the business, when he turned on all of WWF, the traitor siding with WCW, Stone Cold Steve Austin, how dare he, the WCW ECW alliance, it almost cost Vince McMahon and the WWF everything, at that invasion, and everything about it. And oh, he's so good. And also, like, the fact that Stone Cold Stunner can come out of anywhere and just hit you just like that, just like there's no setup for it. It can literally just come out in the middle of a match. And also, like, Stone Cold could destroy armies of people, the entire corporation coming down, and Stone Cold would just wreck like 10, 15 guys in a row, just like punch, stunner, 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 stunner the person, out of the ring, stunner the next person, out of the ring, stunner the next person, out of the ring, I mean, there's few people that are allowed to be billed like that, or that can even pull it off. And the idea that Stone Cold was just like this almost serial killer kind of guy, I mean, he had the amazing stare that he could do. Just, I mean, he could be no nonsense, he could be comedy. He had the amazing match with Booker T when they wrestled throughout a shopping mall. I mean, he could do silly things, and, what? I had 1 beer, what? 2 beers, what? 3 beers, what? 4 beers, what? 5 beers, what? And a can of lager. I mean, he could make you laugh. He could make you hate him with a passion. He could make you absolutely love him. He was the main character. If Stone Cold was the guy, no one ever booed him. I mean, he could work a crowd like no one. I mean, he wasn't even all that great a technical wrestler. I mean, I dare you to name 10 moves that Stone Cold did. I mean, he punched people a lot. He used a lot of weapons. He had the Stone Cold Stunner. He had the Luther's Prez. When he was the ringmaster, he had the what was it called, the something stunner, like when he did the backdrop onto the ropes. I can't even remember what that was called now. But I mean, like, when Stone Cold started off in the WF, he was not fantastic, if we are being honest. Not fantastic at all when he came in, with the $1 Million Man as the $1 Million champion and such. And I can kind of see why WCW let him go, because back then he was not this guy. But I mean, when Stone Cold evolved into that, oh, he was unstoppable. He was on fire. Like, again, arguably the best of all time. The same with Undertaker, also arguably the best of all time. And it was really, really difficult to pick out this top 4 list, and especially putting big old Stone Cold in number 3. If you went back to 1999 and you asked little young Grand Cat, back when I was not a fully grown Grand Cat, I mean, I was a Grand Kitten, who's your favourite wrestler? Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin, unquestionably, every single day. Stone Cold Steve Austin. And like, there was never a point where it's like, I'm getting kind of bored of Stone Cold. Never happened. Stone Cold was just on fire. And everyone that was around that era would have told you exactly the same. Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's why it's so strange to have 2 people above the Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you want to find out number 2 and number 1, you will have to join me tomorrow for Christmas Eve, and then again on Christmas Day, to find out who number 2 and number 1 on my top 25 list is. And if you want to try and take a guess below, by all means, try and have a guess. See if you can guess it ahead of time. And also let me know who your top 25 pick would be, because I'm very interested to see that. Let me know, would you have Stone Cold Steve Austin at number 1? Would you have Stone Cold Steve Austin in your number 25? If you don't have Stone Cold Steve Austin in your number 25, what's wrong with you? And I would also like to know what you're thinking, and like why he's not up there. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, always one of my favourites. Always. That's going to be it for this video, folks. I really hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.